Hi everyone and welcome back. Today in this video, we are going to discuss about the experience section in your teaching CV. Now, experience section plays a very huge role because it gives us a glimpse that what are your teaching pedagogical skills, what are your classroom management skills, how do you use data, how do you analyze data, what are your AFL routines. So all these things are mentioned in your experience, right? Okay. Now there are total 5 things that we need to be mindful about when we are writing and framing the experiences, right? We're gonna go one by one through that, right? For those who are new, let me give you an idea that we have already covered a lot of topics when we talk about the CV section in my previous video. Please make sure to go through it so that you can get a hold of what we are doing right now, right? And for the others who have been following me, make sure your laptop or desktop is open and ready to go, right? Now, if you see on the left hand side is the green CV, which is basically a non-ATS friendly, right? And on the right hand side is basically the blue or the orange one. This is the ATS friendly, right? Those who are new, just to give you a heads up that ATS is basically applicant tracking system. And this is a software which is used here, especially in UAE by most of the schools to recruit, basically to screen out the CV. Try to understand because Dubai is really hyped. So there are thousands of CVs coming up here, right? So it is not practical for a person, a human, to go through all the CVs. So we gave a little data to the software, and this software basically scans the CV to screen in, screen out. So all those CVs which are screen in reach out to the HR or the HOD, right? Subject lead, right? Now, this ATS worked in a certain way, so we're going to consider that perspective while framing the experience section, right? Another thing before we start, I keep on getting a lot of questions that, many times it has possible that teaching has not been your first choice. So in that case, let's say you have been coming or switching from an engineering background or from a finance background or from an accounts background. So is it relevant to add that experience in your experience for teaching CV? Right? Okay. So the answer is yes, but how to position it, we're going to discuss it, right? Okay, so let's begin. When we talk about the experience, let's say in the green one, 5 things, right? First thing, order. Make sure that when you're writing your experience for different schools or different institution or industry, the order should be at the top. It should be your present, where you are currently working. That school should be where you're working right now. And then down as you go, it should be your history. So today you're working in this school, you should mention your current school at the top, then prior to this school, then prior to this school, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's the first thing. So let's look for the green one. If you look at the green one, work experience 2024 to now, which is the present school, XYZ school in Abu Dhabi. Okay, prior to this, ABC school in 2021 to 2024. Okay, then another school in Dubai 2020 to 21, then school from India 2018 to 20. He's going by order. Then an institute in Himachal 2016 to 18. Okay, and then he has worked as an executive engineer. If you look carefully, he has worked as an executive engineer from 2015 to 16, and prior to this he has also worked as a quality engineer from 2014 to 15. Now I have put these engineer backgrounds here intentionally so that you have an idea that if you need to put your non-teaching background, then how to put it, right? Okay, we're going to come back to that later, right? So first thing, which was order, is okay, right? Second thing that you need to be mindful is basically the format. What I meant by format is that under experience, for every particular institute, start with your school name, then location, then your position in that school, and your responsibilities. Okay, look at this one, green one, school XYZ school. Okay, then location Abu Dhabi, then position AP and American curriculum physics teacher, and then the responsibilities, which are these. So this is good from the format perspective. Okay, so order is okay, format is okay. Third point, when you're writing your points under your experience, when you're writing your responsibilities, kindly make sure do not write your responsibility in a paragraph. As I said, it should not be like a story. Nobody has this much time to read through a paragraph. So always write your responsibilities in bullet points. Always in bullet points, and to very specific, right? The bullet points should not be more than 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. It's not like 10 lines and there is one bullet point. No, it should be 2 to 3 lines, maximum 2 to 3 lines. That's good enough. 2 to 3 lines are enough to give the major points about your experience. or your responsibility. Okay, right? Okay, now if you look carefully, when he's writing his responsibility, he's starting with an arrow. And I mentioned it clearly in my previous videos that these are not ATS friendly. Avoid using arrows, avoid using symbols, avoid using any fancy things. Don't use what you call any images or symbols or these arrows. Only use a bullet point if you can use, or a star key. These are ATS friendly. Now this is not a big thing, but the ATS will have a little error. And why to give that little loop? It's better when you are doing things, let's get it done in the right way. I'll show you how. Look at the right one. When he's writing the points, responsibilities, he's using bullet points. This is what I meant by bullet points. Either you can use these bullet points or you can use this star key. Both are ATS friendly. Okay, right? So that's the third thing. Fourth thing, when you're writing your responsibility, you should start your responsibility. Every point of your responsibility should start with the first word. It should be a verb, right? Now see, what he's writing is, was responsible for teaching physics to high school students using different teaching methods. Now was is not a verb. This is from the ATS perspective. The ATS has been framed in such a way that under responsibilities, he will first look for a verb. When I say verb, I'll give you an idea. Look at the right one. He's starting with delivered is a verb. Designed is a verb. Developed is a verb. Analyzed, implemented, mentored, these are verbs. Always start your responsibilities with a verb, right? That's the fourth point. So from that perspective, the green one is not good. And then the fifth point, which is very major, when you're writing a point under your responsibility, the point should give me three things. First, what you did, what was the impact of it, and is there any data to support that? Okay. Now look at the green one. Was responsible for teaching physics to high school students using different teaching methods. What you did, I was responsible for teaching physics to high school students. Okay. What was the impact? I don't know. Is there any data? No. And what he's mentioning is, was responsible for teaching physics to high school students using different teaching methods. What are these different teaching methods? As I mentioned in my previous video, your CV should give me answers. It should not be giving me more questions. So he's writing using different teaching methods. What are these different teaching methods? Please let me know. Right? Okay. Second, I know you're going to give the answers. He would have been using a different teaching method, but the point is, you cannot be 100% sure that you are going to get an interview call. You cannot be 100% sure. So you need to ensure that you give as much detail to the point so that the HR is convinced that it's worth giving 20-minute session with him, right? Okay. Second, help students understanding topics and conducted test, quizzes and lab work. Okay, conducted test. What kind of test? Quizzes. When did you use quizzes? Was it before the lesson, after the lesson? Is it pre, post? How you're using the data of that? Nothing. I did lab work. Okay, what kind of lab work? How you did the lab work? What are the safety? Nothing. Then also gave feedback to students on their performance. Okay. Now also gave feedback to students on their performance. When we talk about feedback, try to understand. There are two ways of giving feedback. One is person oriented. Another one is process oriented. When I talk about the person oriented, I'll give you an example. There is a student Muhammad. Muhammad has done a numerical writing the steps in a very nice and clear way. One way of giving feedback is the person feedback. Muhammad has done a very good job. This is the person feedback. Okay, it's not relevant. It's of no use. Second is process oriented. Instead of saying Muhammad, you have done a good job, if I say Muhammad, I really appreciate how you have mentioned all these steps in your solution. Now I am praising the process which Muhammad has done. This will make Muhammad more realize that there is a process which I do well. And if you highlight these things in a person, he has the tendency to develop it further, right? So make sure that when you're giving feedback, it should be process oriented, not a people oriented or a person oriented. Okay, right? Right, so that's one thing, right? So in that case, I do see that the green one is not actually very friendly, right? Okay, now Moving on to the next one, let's talk all these things from a ATS perspective. Now, from the ATS perspective, the first thing we look for the order, 2024 to now, that means he's currently working in this, should be at the top, which is okay. And then 2021-24, and then 2020-21, same as order, so order is okay. Next thing we look for is the format. School's name, location, position, responsibility. School name, first thing, XYZ school, okay. Location, Abu Dhabi. Then role, AP and American curriculum physics teacher. You might be English teacher, head of the department, physics teacher, science teacher, mathematics, whatever, right? Okay. And then the responsibilities, which is okay, right? So these 2 points are okay. Third point, the responsibility should always start with the bullet point, not any fancy symbol, which is already okay. We have checked it, so that's also okay. Fourth point, always start your responsibility with the verb. Delivered, designed, developed, analyzed, implemented, mentored, all are verb, all okay. Tick box, right? Fifth, 1 point of responsibility should give me answer. What you did, what was the impact, is there any data? Look at it. What you did, he delivered senior grade physics lessons. How? By integrating lab work, simulations and inquiry based learning. Okay, what was the impact? Improving conceptual clarity and critical thinking across grade 11 and 12. Okay, is there any data? Third point, by 22% based on pre and post test scores. All the tick box. Look at the next one. What you did, I designed curriculum maps with HODs. What was the impact? Or to do what? To ensure 100% data, 100% syllabus alignment and smooth content progression across grade, enhancing impact, enhancing instructional continuity. You got the point? Last one. What you did, I developed and administered assessments, right? Practicals, quizzes and diagnostic. To do what? With targeted feedback. What happened? It led to a 20% increase in term end scores. Do you see the difference? And I'm telling you, it's the same person and both have been using the same skills, but the way you are putting it across your CV makes a huge difference of you getting an interview call or not, right? So selection is not about it basically how amazing, how skilled, what are the routines that you are using can only become at front in form of a CV. So make sure that you frame your experiences in this way, okay, right? Now, one thing which I would like to give you, that when you're writing your experiences and you're facing difficulty, how to frame these the way I've been telling you, what you did, what was the impact and what's the data. If you're finding it difficulty, I'll give you a way out. The way is, first thing, make sure that whenever you're applying for a job, right, there will be a job advertisement. Look for the skills which they have mentioned, because that's exactly the skill that the school is going to put in their ATS software. So if in your resume you have copied or basically made use of those skills, the ATS software is going to track your CV and put its screen in, right? How to do it? Let's see with an example. So look at my screen, and this is my LinkedIn profile, okay? So let me write physics teacher. Okay, let's say that. Okay, jobs. And if you look for the physics teacher, let me write it again. Go to jobs. If I'm able to find any, let's say we have a science teacher, okay? Okay, or we have physics teacher, okay, let's see. So when you have this physics teacher, look at the right hand side. I'll go down. If I scroll down, this is the name of the company at NOC. It's good schools actually, very good schools, pay high. Look at the responsibilities. Creating a climate for learning that is conducive for outstanding practice. Identifying clear teaching and learning objectives. Setting tasks that challenge students and ensure high level of interest. I need to have all these things, right? So these are the points which are mentioned in the, or have been given as an input in the ATS software. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy these. I'm going to open ChatGPT. In ChatGPT, I'm going to write, hi, I'm applying for a physics teacher position. I am sharing the advertisement points with you. I want you to frame, let's say six points for my experience using these criteria. Make sure, one more point. Make sure to make these points ATS friendly. You need to write that, okay? And then Control V. I've pasted it all and enter. If you see carefully, look at, he has given from that thing, he has given me 6 points, okay? And look carefully, first word he's using is created, designed, implemented, maintained, utilized, contributed. You need to get like this, copy from it, paste in your resume, CV, and that's it, okay? So that's actually a very strategic way of getting your CV at least ATS screen in, okay? At least you get a call, right? Okay. Now coming to the last part, which is basically if you have an experience from a non-teaching background, should you put it or not, right? We'll start from the non-ATS, which is the green one, because both have engineering background, right? Now look at this one. He has been as an executive engineer. His responsibility, he has written, training the employees regarding the CAD software of mechanical engineering. Now CAD software is basically relevant, but only if you're applying for an engineering job. He's applying for a teaching job. Until high school, we don't use CAD software, so it's irrelevant, right? Giving trainings to employees regarding the safety measures at workplace, which is good, but it's not relevant to me from the teaching position or perspective. This skill is not relevant for me, right? Writing maintenance strategies to help with the installation and commissioning guidelines. Again, I don't consider this as very HR friendly or ATS friendly, right? Because none of these terms are mentioned in the advertisement, right? Okay, look at the right hand side. When we talk about his experience, executive engineer. Now, trained, first thing, he's using the same thing, verb. Trained employees on core mechanical engineering concepts and workplace safety protocols, fostering a culture of operational efficiency and risk management. Now, if you look carefully, he's highlighting core mechanical engineering concepts, which is relevant for him because he's a physics teacher. So real life application, he'll be able to give more. Second, developed and designed data. This skill is required. Why? Because as a teacher, you're expected to collect data. You're expected to have developed data from your AFS, from your summative exams, from your checkpoints, from all these things, assessments, you're getting data. So how are you going to use, how are you going to analyze this data? This skill is required. So it's useful. Then last one, diagnosed mechanical failures and conducted root cause analysis, enhancing problem solving abilities, which is now leveraged in physics instruction. So did you see that? He's tailoring his engineering experience as per the teaching perspective or teacher domain, right? So my answer is, if you have a non-teaching background, I would suggest, because all the high performing schools of Dubai or Abu Dhabi, whether we talk about IB, whether we talked about GEMS, Talim, American, all the high performing schools are actually looking for the teachers who have interdisciplinary strength. So if you're coming from an engineering background, if you're coming from an accounting or finance background, if you can use those skills as leverage while teaching, it's a good thing. It's an asset you have. You're getting the point, right? So kindly make sure that when you are mentioning your experience from a non-teaching background, highlight those skills which are transferable. For example, when you talk about the accounts or finance, stats, using data, graphs, all these are skills which can be transferred. It can be used in teaching students, right? Problem solving skills, root cause analysis, project execution. Every one of you who has worked in corporate, you must have done any part of any project. How to do a project, what are the resources required, timeline, roadmap, right? All these skills are required in teaching. So the answer is yes, put it, but put your non-teaching background experience as a supportive thing. Do not highlight it at the top. Are we clear, right? Okay, so that will be all, and thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.